everyone, it's Holly Marie King, and I'm here to share Not a Dream Chapter 2, the final draft. So let's get started. Chapter 2, A Day with a Demon. Helen stared out her huge window with angry eyes. She had planned to escape through her window, but the men who had taken her had put her on the top floor. The ground was a far drop, and she wasn't so desperate as to escape by throwing herself out the window. She had thought up a plan, but it wouldn't only work if movies had been right about tying bedsheets together and climbing out the window. She decided to wait until she was allowed outside. Until then, she was stuck with her own brooding thoughts, and that wasn't very helpful, because all she could think about was the betrayal that had befallen her. That morning, things seemed especially funny for the voice in her head. It mocked her with its sexless laughter. It only made her bad mood increase even more. "You will never escape here," it mocked. With those words, it made Helen lean towards a man's voice, but she didn't really care. It was just annoying her. She was tired of not having her brain to herself. There was a light knock on her door when someone entered. Helen didn't turn around. She just stared out the window. People entering her room usually meant food was going to be put on her bedside table, and then they would leave. There was hardly any time to get past them and find a route to escape on. She needed to plan more carefully if she were to escape. "How are we feeling today?" The voice made Helen jump, since she hadn't expected to hear anyone speak, and his voice had a very intellectual sound. She turned around and found herself facing something that looked like a demon. His skin was a red, delicious apple color, and he had two pointy spots on his forehead that resembled horns. "I'm managing," she answered him. She wasn't about to let him know her frustrations, not to mention the strange voice she heard every now and again. "I'm glad. However, we need to start making progress." "Progress?" "Yes. There is much to discuss, and we are not comfortable enough to discuss it." The demon crossed the room and put his arm out for her to grab. "Come. We must travel swiftly to my chambers." "Just like that?" Helen asked him, looking up at him skeptically. "I have only been here for a week at the most, and you are just going to let me waltz around all I want." "I said nothing of the sort. We are off to my chambers, and then I will bring you back here directly afterward," was the calm reply. Helen's heart began to beat a little faster. Why would she be going to this man's chambers? "Why can't I just stay here?" The demon walked over impatiently and grabbed her arm. "I apologize for being so rash, but I really have no time for your silly games." She was swiftly led past the door that appeared to lead to a bar of some kind, and to the door that he had come out of the night she had ventured out. The demon opened the door and closed it behind him. "Before we move on, I implore you not to touch a single thing without my permission." He waited until she nodded silently. He opened the door to his chambers. Helen felt as though she had stepped into a whole new world. It was unbelievable. Helen looked around with wide eyes. She couldn't help it. "How?" she whispered, because she couldn't figure out how to ask her questions. How was this possible? As soon as he had opened the door, there was a forest that was on either side of a soil pathway. It was like being in a rainforest. The air was thin and warm, and she could hear animal sounds off in the distance. She felt as though she had stepped into an exhibit at the zoo that made a person feel as though they were in a rainforest. "This is the room that I wanted," was the demon's reply. He kept moving, completely used to his home. "You'll understand when you get used to living here." That piqued Helen's interest. She wasn't planning on staying forever, so she wouldn't even ever know what this place meant. "What did you need to talk to me about?" she asked, wanting to leave this room as quickly as possible. She had a feeling that even the plants were regarding her hungrily. Before he answered, Eric gestured towards the chair that was next to a table that looked as though it was from a garden collection. "Tea?" he asked. Helen politely smiled and waited patiently. When he was finished serving the two of them, he sat while Helen watched him with hopeful eyes. "This is very important for you to pay attention to." "Very well," Helen answered impatiently. "Just let me know what you wanted to say." Eric looked at her through his glasses, obviously frustrated. "We were all once human, in case you were wondering," he said tartly. Helen smiled sheepishly. She could have angered him enough to harm her. "Then one day our entire village just changed." "Changed? How?" Helen asked, deciding it was best to go along with the story. "I don't know how to describe it, really," was Eric's reply. "One moment we were all human, and then the next we were all creatures that weren't natural. Also, when we all changed, there was a voice that spoke in all of our minds and told us there was only one way to save us." He paused to watch Helen deliberating this information in her head. We need a human from a different world entirely to help us. Unfortunately, only one of us can travel from world to world without dying, and that person is Damien. He's the one with the white wings, he explained. When he saw the confused look on her face. And so he set in search. Each time he comes back, the person is given a trial to see if they are the one. But they always end up dying at some point in time. Which is why Damien believes so much that you are that person. So what exactly am I supposed to do? Helen asked him. You are supposed to fulfill a prophecy and help us regain our bodies to their original human form, Eric said, closing his eyes as he took a sip of his tea. Look, I don't know why you think I can do anything to help you, Helen said while sitting on the edge of her seat. Why can't you just let me go? You either help us or you die. Eric commented as though that was a good topic for a tea party. Well, that's not a fair offer, considering I could die in this trial, Helen said back to him, gripping underneath her chair to keep herself calm. Would you rather die trying to run away from this house or die fighting? What is that supposed to mean? It means that if you try to leave this house like you're planning to, you will surely die. Helen stared at this demon in shock. Troy will destroy you. Wait, step back here for a minute. Helen's heart began to pound faster as she gripped the bottom of her chair tighter. How did you know I was hoping to escape? Eric shrugged. Everyone has the same thought whenever they are taken prisoner, he said offhandedly. He then leaned in closer to Helen. I'm telling you this as a warning against Troy, the vampire. He tears everyone to shreds that tries to escape. Why would he do that to people that are supposed to be his saviors? You really want to know? Helen nodded. Because part of me believes he doesn't want the scourge taken care of. Before we all became monsters, he had been very ill, and his young wife feared for his life. The poor woman died before the sickness had caught him. Why wouldn't he want to join his bride in the afterlife? Eric shrugged again. Who knows? Our townspeople have gone mad from the power that overcame them. You don't have to worry about them because you are under our protection. But as soon as you step outside of our home, you will die in seconds. The interesting tea party over, Helen was brought back to her room in one piece. For now, anyway. She immediately went to her window to watch the sunset and started thinking. Why did she feel bad for these kidnappers? Why should she even have to help them? As far as she was concerned, she just wanted to get out of this place to start a new and better life. You will never survive in this world. The voice spoke to her maliciously. It was getting more and more menacing as the days passed. How did it go? She heard the familiar voice and knew who it was, but still she whirled around to face him in her shock. It went fine, Greg, she answered the man grimly. She didn't hate the man, but she really wished that he would leave her alone. Now please get out. She turned from him and looked out the window again. As you wish. The door closed and locked as he left the room. Alone, Helen bowed her head. Why did she care so much about escaping? Where would she go? Wasn't where she was now a new and unique life from where she had been before? Did she even want to live? Helen chuckled to herself. That was a silly question. And then her smile faded. Was it? The voice in her head seemed to grow a smile on its invisible face. Alrighty. It's the end of chapter 2. If anyone has any questions about the book, feel free to ask questions. I would be more than happy to answer. And if you are interested in buying the book, I will leave in the description a link to where you can buy the book. And I will see you next time. Bye everyone.